Last time, on a night in its moon, Amaris and her boys rode into the capital city without a plan, but luckily the plot found them and they didn't need to do anything. Amaris wouldn't let the servants in the castle put her in a dress because she's a walking cliché. The hottest of her bird boys flew in, and they had a sexual tension at each other for a while before Amaris went to see the queen. Knox went to seduce the captain of the guard, who was comically evil. The captain took her into the castle and into his murder room, but she got the better of him by, I'm not really sure, I'm going to assume it was magic. Then Knox made him into her thrall and mutilated his genitals. Our hero.
You never realize how dirty your glasses are until you sit down to film. But we are back for some more read-along. Shortest chapter today, so let's get out of the way at chapter 26. I don't know who we're with at the moment. The Ivory Reaver. We all know who that is. If anyone ever writes my biography, please do not make every description of me be about how white I am. So we get a description of the throne room. It's in the nose of the horse. For some reason, the author is really into this describing the palace as looking like a horse head, and I don't know if that's going anywhere or if she's just trying to be like, it looks like the head of a horse. Isn't that funny? Like, we're anti-horse in this book. I really don't know why the author didn't take this great opportunity to have a fancy dress party scene. Stop. Any other author I can think of would have taken this moment to have there be like a ball or something where Amaris goes to meet the queen, so everybody has to dress up, there's dancing, blah blah blah. I don't know, she's just skipped that. Not that I really want there to be more to this book, but like, we have skipped a cliche, Piper CJ, and you are not one to do that. What's wrong, Piper CJ? You've hardly touched your list of predictable fantasy cliches this morning. Also, picture any majestic fantasy throne room, and you're right, that's what this one looks like. The queen is kind of up on a pedestal with the thrones. There's multiple thrones. So the thrones are for the queen and the prince, the crown prince. But Amaris says, like, oh, well, I guess the queen's just meeting us today because the prince's throne is empty. We're getting a lengthy description of what the queen is wearing. Oh, sure, we can describe the queen's dress, but when it comes to what the winged guys are wearing, we get nothing. Amaris takes a minute to be ageist. An ornate gold belt studded with rubies hugged her waist, which may have been lovely when she was younger, but at her advanced age, it seemed misplaced. What about a belt looks bad on like an older person? Now maybe you're trying to get across that the queen is older without just telling us that. But the author mentions her hair in the next sentence. Could you not just mention that it was going gray? When Amaris and her friends greet the queen, she notices that both her friends say your majesties instead of your majesty, and she's like, sus. Personally, I don't think that Amaris would notice that. She's not the most observant person in the whole world, but she needs to notice it. Once again, Amaris is like, diplomacy first, but you saw how well that went with the guards. She tried one sentence, and when they didn't go for it, she immediately used magic on them. Did we ever figure out why there are so few Reavers now? Because we mention that there used to be lots of Reavers, but their numbers had diminished greatly. And I think in The Witcher there's a reason for that. But in this, I don't know. And no one else seems to wonder either, so I feel like I'm supposed to know, and maybe I'm just supposed to know from The Witcher, and it's just the same reason, and I'm just supposed to know that because this is fan fiction. Because this author cannot resist balancing any dialogue with huge chunks of narrative and description, mostly description, Amaris, says her piece, and rather than just getting a quick reaction shot from the queen, we get a reaction shot from the queen, and then a couple of paragraphs about what the courtiers are doing before Amaris starts talking again. It's like this author is allergic to dialogue. So Amaris is just like, hey, we came here to tell you to stop killing the Northmen. And the queen is like, where's the bodies? I don't see any bodies. When she could be like, what Northmen? We've just been killing demons. The queen is just dumb, apparently, because Amaris is like, yeah, the queen is guilty because what she said is super incriminating, and yeah, it is, which makes me wonder why the queen would say it. You'd think she would have years of practice, not revealing her probably evil schemes. The queen has said two things, maximum 2 sentences, and Amaris is like, Moire was incriminating herself by the moment. Once again, this author is having the problem where she does so much build-up and description before the actual like meat of the scene, and then we're getting to the meat and it's just happening at breakneck pace. The queen is immediately incriminating herself. So the queen addresses the empty throne beside her, and Amaris flinched at the oddity of the motion. And I'm just picturing Amaris standing there in front of the queen. The queen looks into the empty chair, and Amaris goes, like, what, flinched? She flinched is a very, like, specific physical motion. Why would she do that when the queen looks at the chair next to her? I would maybe have her, if she showed any sign that she was suspicious, quirk an eyebrow, or flick her gaze in that direction, or something small and subtle, not flinch. So now Amaris is like, is the queen insane? Because the queen is leaning over to the empty throne next to her, like, hey, what do you think, person who's not there? And then the queen is like, yes, the crown prince and I agree. So obviously the queen thinks that the crown prince is in the chair next to her. Or, as I suspect is going on, Amaris has that special gift of like seeing things as they are because she's the special. And so there's an illusion of the prince next to her, and the queen is just like, doesn't know that Amaris can't see him. I don't know why you would need a fake prince. Probably the queen killed him or something for some reason. I'm sure we'll find out why she's evil.
Get used to disappointment.
So the queen is like going full, like, how dare you accuse me of attacking the people in the north? I've done no such thing. Which, if she wasn't being so overtly evil, would be like a fine statement, because if she wasn't being evil, she has no idea that she's attacking the people from the north. They all look like monsters. So Amaris is freaking out because she still can't see the prince, and Ash is like, the prince is right there, you dum-dum. So Amaris has just stopped talking and is just like having a moment. Finally, Amaris realizes, oh shoot, I'm seeing something that the others can't see because I am special. Amaris had the gift of sight. She had the gift to rightly see. Yep. Got that with the first sentence. And Amaris decides that the best course of action upon realizing this is to immediately blurt out that there is no prince. Y'all, she was the worst choice to send to speak to the queen. So for some reason, Amaris immediately goes, queen is pretending that her prince is there, therefore she is the one who put the curse on the northerners. That's a leap that I wouldn't have necessarily made, especially since it took Amaris so long to figure out that everyone else was seeing the prince, but she wasn't. There's no prince, and the queen is the one responsible for the curse, and she says it out loud to the entire court. Wow.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
We need to figure out why the queen is doing this, and I suspect it may be a terrible plan, so we might be able to finally mark off something new on our bingo board. But also, if this is the queen's curse on the Flappy Boys, that would explain why she's sending her people to kill them. Yes, cool. And, you know, why maybe a few attempts at talking to people hadn't worked. However, the kingdom is not a monolith. The queen may be in charge, but there are lots of other people in the kingdom. Lords, scribes, guards, soldiers, people who are in charge, but not necessarily the queen, who could also be communicating with these northerners and finding out that there's a curse. Just because the queen placed the curse, and every time the northerners try to come into her land they look like monsters, does not mean that that would work 100% and that there would be no way for the northerners to communicate to anyone. Like, they can't communicate with any of their trade partners, they can't communicate with anyone at all, they have no trusted friends that they could send a letter to. Like, this plan, yeah, it's a dumb plan. I don't know where my bingo board went. Hang on. I can't find my bad book bingo card. It may have been lost in the move, but I know that Baddies Have Terrible Plans was written on it, so go ahead and cross that off if you're playing at home. I might have to print myself out a new bingo card and cross off everything that we've gotten so far. Also, I don't know why Amaris thinks that anyone would believe her, unless she's using her magic at this point somehow, like to convince people. So she's like, the prince is an illusion, and the queen is responsible for the curse. And she's like, yes, the court should be turning against the queen any minute now. But it's like, no, you're just a small, white-haired crazy person who came into her court and started shouting things. Why would anyone believe you?
You ruined everything, you stupid, stupid bitch.
For some reason, Amaris, the guards are circling in, and Amaris directs her magic towards the queen. She's like, Queen Moirae, you will let us go. And it's like, you're making a lot of assumptions that this clearly also magical person is going to be vulnerable to your magic when you should just say to the guards, you will let us go. Those guys are probably just ordinary people. But Amaris is going to get herself caught because, again, she's just too dumb to live. Finally, Amaris gets knocked on the back of her head and passes out. As we all know, passing out is one of this author's favorite ways to end a scene. Amaris just kept yelling at the queen to let them go instead of yelling at the guards or any of the courtiers. But that's the end of that chapter. And then I think we go back to Knox and her mutilated human puppet that she's hanging around with for another fairly long chapter. So, oh boy, can't wait for that. Remember when Knox was my favorite character? Those were good days. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter. So I printed out a new bingo card and I'm just filling it back in, and I realized that I hadn't filled in the spot for horny, which I think after Knox comes into her super sexiness powers, I think that one goes on the list. Basically, it's there for any type of situations, similar to the Savior's Champion books or the Cyborg Tinkerer, where there's a world where everyone is just horny all the time. And I think somebody with super sexiness powers making everyone around her horny qualifies. I don't know what it is with all of these authors that I keep finding and their obsession with horniness, but I guess that kind of is the fantasy romance landscape right now, though, if I'm honest. However, if you're sick of horniness just ruling the day, any of my books should satisfy you. Does Knox sucking the life force out of a man and then mutilating his genitals equal a awkward sex scene? Not quite ready to give that awkward sex scene. They never really did get to the sex. She just immediately started killing him with her vagina. This author does not do the noun verb inside her noun, which is pretty shocking considering how many words she likes to use. I can't remember if we gave them main character immediately good at a high skill activity. I feel like we didn't. We also can't really cross off she don't know she's beautiful because all of these characters are very confident that they are hot and awesome and sexy. The only ones we are missing are awkward sex scene, powers/abilities never explained, which actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna give it to this as well. I'm just filling out the rest of this bingo card because I'm counting this for the fact that we are never sure when powers are being used until well after the fact most of the time. And if you can't tell when magic is happening, I think that qualifies as not being explained. We haven't got noun verbed inside her noun. Main character has sudden last minute new powers or abilities. We're still waiting on that, let's find out. And main character good at a high skill activity. And finally, she don't know she's beautiful. Those are the only ones we have not got. So we have bingos all over the place. If anybody's playing at home with their own bingo sheet, like you rearrange this bingo sheet, I imagine you have gotten bingo by now. I need to get reading this because I am almost out of my backlog. You are almost caught up with me in real time because all of this moving and remodeling of the house, which is still going on. This is a really big house and pretty much every room is mildly a disaster in some way. So yeah, we are still in the process and it's gonna be the process until spring, probably. We hear back with Knox and the man she tortured and mutilated, but it's okay because he is the most stereotypical bad man who was ever bad. Is his name Aramis or Aramis? I don't know, but either way is kind of close to Amaris. So apparently Knox, after killing this guy, just like sat on his torture table and just like examining her fingernails for a couple of hours. We are reminded that she is castrating him, in the process of castrating him, and it just looks, apparently, through his clothes like he has an erection, so she's castrating him and humiliating him at the same time. Again, it's totally okay, because he was the most despicable caricature that this author could come up with. A way that the author could have done this and have us hate this man without just having to tell us that he has a torture chamber and routinely murders girls and no one seems to notice is to have Knox befriend someone who then falls prey to this man. Make it personal. Like, that could be something that maybe we could have done with the redheaded girl instead of just having the mistress kill her. The only reason the redheaded girl existed, seemingly, was so that we could find out about the mistress's evil hand. But the mistress could have killed anyone with her evil hand to get that point across, so we could have used the redheaded girl to fall victim to this guy, which would cause Knox to go on a vengeful rampage against him. Still Not perfect, but better than just this guy happens to be a psychotic murderer, so that we never have to interrogate the fact that Knox might do this to innocent people. She has almost certainly killed innocent men who were just at a brothel, an establishment where you are meant to pay for sex. They were just there doing what the brothel is there for, and Knox murdered them. But we don't need to think about that. We just need to think about how righteous it is that she's killed some bad men or twisted them to her will. A lot of people, I'm going off on a tangent here, a lot of authors I know like to write quote-unquote dark fantasy, which seems to most people to just mean sexual violence. But a lot of the time it also involves the main character being willing and able to kill. But so few of the writers that I've read seem interested in interrogating how that would make someone feel. We have characters like Layla who pay the barest lip service to maybe being sad that they have to kill, but then easily and practically gleefully smashing someone's face in with their own crown. Yeah, that's dark, but to me the real darkness comes from a character who believes himself to be a good person having to interrogate the fact that they have killed someone. The real darkness really comes with the emotions that go along with it, and not just the fact that your character will cut a bitch, but that she might actually feel something about it afterward. The mental gymnastics that a character might go through to justify the fact that they are killing. I am far more interested in a character who has that kind of depth where perhaps they have to kill but they don't like it, versus someone like Knox who the narrative just assures us is killing bad men, and because of that she never has to feel anything about it. I encourage you, if you are writing a quote-unquote dark book, which so many people are into nowadays, that you explore the emotions and moral implications and ramifications of the violent actions that your characters might take. Anyway, tangent over. I haven't even made it 2 pages. I'm just like so over this. I think we're supposed to be cheering for Knox. I think this is supposed to be, yay, feminism. First of all, I'm a feminist, obviously, but this kind of thing makes us look bad. What does this mean? The toffee young man had quite the reputation for being lazy. What is a toffee man? Is she referring to his skin being the color of toffee? Because that's gross. Stop doing that immediately. Knox muses about how the other people that she has enchanted with her sexiness powers, she left like enough of their soul intact that they can function out in the world. But this guy, she has fucked up so badly that she's gonna have to puppeteer him much more personally. So Knox is just hanging out in the torture room with her new thrall, and she hears a servant coming down the hallway, and it says, "The individual used the clanging of keys to lock and unlock every door in the corridor." The sound of the keys was locking and unlocking the doors. So I'm a little bit confused what this servant knows. The servant comes in looking for him and finds him and Knox in the torture chamber, and the servant doesn't bat an eye at this. So does he know that the captain brings women down here often? And does he know what the captain does to them after? Or does he think that the captain is just really kinky and likes to have sex in the torture chamber? Which is really unsanitary. The servant whispers something to the captain and then he leaves, but Knox can like magically hear it because she's linked to this guy now, and she says, "What takes us to your arena?" And I don't know what that means, but we get a break, and I think we're back with Amaris now, who, as you recall, is an idiot who shouldn't be in charge of anything. I have no idea why these boys look to her as a leader, other than the fact that one of them could be replaced with a sexy lamp and the other one has perfect best friend powers. Please, just trust your reader. Amaris opened her eyes. At least she tried. One of her lids seemed impossibly heavy. Okay, cool. That tells us that it's probably swollen shut. Except for the author doesn't think we can figure that out and says perhaps swollen from a blow she'd taken to the face. Yeah, we know, we were there. It was a chapter ago. Why don't you trust us? This author could set a vivid scene, but she has to explain everything to death.
Stop! He's already dead.
Also, she continues to be no good at writing pain. She felt discomfort everywhere. Thanks. Very descriptive. That's the one thing this author just absolutely cannot describe. Little reminder here that I have a video all about writing pain and injuries. Check it out. I'm pretty good at that. I've gotten some compliments on it. I don't know whether I should be worried about that, but we'll just say it's a good thing. such weird descriptions. Like, we're slowly finding out that she's like laying face down on the floor, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but the way this author goes about describing it is kind of like painful and awkward. It takes Amaris a while for some reason to realize there's a gag in her mouth, and it says, she felt her tongue connect with an obstacle. A thick band of fabric was gagging her, disabling her ability for speech. Why you gotta say it in such a convoluted, awkward way, Piper? Then, similar to this author writing fight scenes, we get a blow-by-blow, every single minute motion she makes of her managing to get into a kneeling position. And then she stands up and was able to get her feet underfoot. Feet underfoot? Amaris blinked against the dismal, drab space. Normally you blink against the light, you blink against the dust, you're trying to clear your vision in some way. But apparently this place is so dismal and drab that she has to she's trying to blink that away. So we're reminded that she kind of has poor night vision with her cool lavender eyes, which has never come up. We're just told it. Rather than her having a little bit of difficulty, it's just yeah, she has poor night vision, but her eyes adjusted anyway, so she's fine. It's like giving your character a weakness of some kind. Yay, we're on board with it, but then dismissing it and not actually making it a problem. For some reason, we keep being reminded that this castle, the whole color scheme is beige. Everything is cream colored, and I don't know why. Once again, Witcher fan base, can you tell me if that's a thing from somewhere? Even the cells, even the dungeon has cream-colored walls. The emerald eyes of her golden friend. Stop, Piper, please. Oh, Amaris drags up a barest bit of sympathy for her friends who were also captured. Despite her situation, she felt sad for him. Oh, so nice of you to try out this empathy thing. But swiftly we have to understand that her little bit of sympathy is very overshadowed by how Malik is just devastated to see his beautiful, wonderful, amazing friend tied up and gagged. He is just devastated by this. She also notices that while she is restrained with ropes, they have iron bindings, which I'm sure there's a reason for that. We're gonna find out. We're reminded that she's still dressed in her Siri cosplay as we head hop to the boys to see them looking at her and feeling sorry for her. She thinks her friends are idiots or something. So Ash is hey, just nod or shake your head. We can still communicate even though you're gagged. And it says, relief was like cold water on her dry, gagged tongue. They understood her. They knew that she had been trying to communicate. Well, yeah. Of course, the boys immediately understand that she was able to see that the prince was an illusion because she has this special discernment power. Of course, if she had any brains, she would have realized what was going on in the throne room, taken her guys and been okay, well, we need to reconvene. We'll talk about this in a minute. Had a quick talk with them about how she's seeing another illusion, and they could have all dealt with it in a thoughtful and intelligent way instead of her just screaming about it and getting them all arrested and put in a jail cell. They come to the conclusion that the queen, they come to the conclusion that she is a witch, not part fae, because she's not pretty enough. Rude. So Ash points out that she could have enchanted the guards instead of trying to yell at the queen, and Malik just kicks him, literally kicks him, and is it's already over with. Great, so once again, we don't have to deal with our main character's stupid choices. Her friends are just yep, what's done is done. The only thing that Amaris takes away from this conversation about how she was an idiot is that she's probably going to be executed when she starts to cry about that. She's oh, Ash isn't mad at me, he's just mad because he's tied up and he's thinking about the what ifs, but that's pointless. What if she had known, somehow, that commanding the queen was in vain and her attention needed to pivot to the captors around her? Somehow, she had enough time. She had enough time to be Queen, tell them to back off. They're not backing off. Guards, back off. Even if she went back to trying to command the queen after that, she should have realized that she needed to get the guards off of her right now, and done so, using her magic. She's used her magic in a split second so many other times. So now Amaris is just convinced that she's about to die, and she's just wallowing in it. She has immediately given up. She's well, I can't get this gag off, and I'm trapped, and I'm probably going to be executed, so... I don't know why the queen is going to execute Amaris, but not the boys. They all came together. So Why would she leave this loose end, these guys alive, to potentially escape and go back and tell the other Reavers that the Queen is evil? But the guys are getting fed, and not Amaris, because a different fate awaits her. So Amaris puts it together, for some reason, that she must be being held in the cells of a coliseum that she could like barely see. So we're just all of a sudden going to get some sort of coliseum situation going on here for some reason. Like, why the fuck? This author is just like throwing things at this book at this point. We are most of the way through the book. Why are you doing this? Did Piper CJ realize that she suddenly needed a plot? Literally like 100 pages before the end of the book. Although once again, it is very little due to the actions of the characters. A little bit due to the idiocy of Amaris, but honestly, most of it is still just like things happening. Oh, look at the things. We hop into one of the guys' heads once again to just praise Amaris and remind us how much they love her and how sad it is to see her reduced to this like muddy prisoner state. Amaris, their friend, their brother in arms, the first female Reaver in centuries, moonlight personified, incredible warrior, faster than lightning and a powerful speaker, with lavender eyes able to see rightly through enchantments. She was a force crafted by the goddess herself. I can't be serious. Like, oh my gosh. Could you wank off your main character any harder, Piper CJ?
Stop it. Get some help.
Look at my OC. So original. Do not steal. But in comes a man wearing a breastplate adorned with the sigil of the Queen and a bronze woman with supple curves. We all know who that is. And then we get another break so we can hop into Knox's POV. I think as this book has gone on, the author has gotten a better handle on the head hopping. She still does it, but much less than the beginning of this book. You can kind of see her skill with point of view literally evolving before your eyes as this book goes on, which again just tells me that this author needs more practice and probably shouldn't have published her first book, possibly first book ever. I don't know. Now, of course, Knox sees Amaris, her beautiful moonlight girl, in a jail cell and just like absolutely freaks out and just like lets out a primal wail and rushes to her side. I had to read this sentence 3 times and I still don't think I get it. They clutched in a salted, weeping collapse of fear and tragedy and reunion. We find the reason that Knox brought a hairpin that was also a knife. She pulls it out of her hair so she can cut Amaris's gag. Twice we're told that she's petting Amaris's hair too fast, and I just picture her being like, pet, 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 pet. Nigel is gone, or I would like demonstrate some furious petting on him, but he has wisely left me. Now, of course, Knox is having an emotional reaction to seeing this girl for the first time in many years, and it's completely understandable. But then I hope she pulls back and thinks back to all this time that she's been searching for Amaris, and she could perhaps ask, hey, did you look for me? At which time Amaris would have to answer, nope, not once. Also, we get reiterated several times that Knox is falling back onto the instinct that she has to coddle and protect Amaris. So we are right back into that whole mode of ambiguously a brown-skinned person just wanting to watch over, protect, give themselves for a white person. Wow. Wow. What could she do now that she played the role of the wicked whore on the wrong side of the bars? It should be her locked up, not gentle Amaris. Holy shit, Piper CJ. Piper CJ, I really, really need you to interrogate some of these notions that you have, please. About people of color, about sex workers, it's just like, and about like this super, super pure, white, amazing, innocent girl. Like, what is wrong? What is Piper?
You might be tempted to say, Julian, stop it. You're freaking out over nothing. That's just how Knox thinks of herself, not the way Piper CJ thinks of her, except for Knox has never thought of herself that way. I mean, you all remember how Knox was justifying the fact that she murders people by being like, well, she gives them a really good time while she does it. She has never once implied to herself that, oh, she's just a prostitute. Oh, she's unworthy. No way. The closest we come is talking about how prostitutes in this world can have power for some reason by their sexiness. It's never come from Knox. It's not coming from Knox. It's coming from Piper. I'm pretty damn sure.
So we did a whole page break to go to Knox's point of view, but then on the bottom of the next page, we head hop to Amaris's anyway. So they're just like furiously hugging each other through the bars, and it's been going on for a while, and I'm just like, okay, this is great emotional reunion, cool, but like, the captain of the guards is right there. He could unlock the door. They start kissing through the bars, like, I know you missed each other, but like there was no chemistry before except for one dream that may have been magical, but we don't know. This is what we call an unearned intense emotional reunion. Apparently Amaris is kissing with the sorrow and intensity and agony of their moons and seasons apart. You barely thought about this girl. I could count on one hand the number of times that Amaris thought about Knox the entire time that she was like off training with the Reavers. Amaris thinks if anyone could save her, it would be the one who protected her from the bishop, who'd taken the beatings, who'd rescued her from the market, and from the matrons, and from the peers in Farley. So she's still thinking about like, Knox is going to save me, not, gosh, I ran off to have a perfect life while I abandoned Knox to a life of servitude. Just, oh good, Knox is here to help me again. Thank goodness. Me. For some reason, Knox is trying to pick the lock with her hairpin, even though she has enchanted the captain of the guard. And even if he doesn't have the keys on him, all he has to do is like walk over to wherever the guards are and be like, hey, give me the keys. And if they ask questions, he's like, orders from the queen. Like, that's all she needs to do. Why are we having this freak out moment where she's like trying to pick the lock and breaking her hairpin? I mean, I know why it's here. It's because she breaks off her hairpin in the lock and oh no, now the lock is jammed and they can't use the key. But like, so much of this plot requires these characters to be the dumbest characters. But also, presumably the hinges to the cell are on Knox's side, and she has a big strong man just like standing there who she can give orders to. He should just pull out the pins of the hinges and open the door. I have to do all the thinking for these people. And also, between Knox's super sexiness powers, the fact that she's enchanted the captain of the guard, and the fact that Amaris is now free to speak, they could have an entire, like, militia of guards down here helping them bust open this door completely under their enchanted thrall. Get out that way. Like, seriously, you have so many options with these two hugely powerful magical women here, and instead we're going, well, Amaris knew she was about to die, but at least she got to kiss Knox first. Unfortunately for these idiots, while they were just sitting around being like, oh, I'm going to die, but at least I got to see you one last time, the back of Amaris's cell, which was made of wood, opens up, revealing that it was in fact a giant door, and she's going to have to probably fight something in an arena. And this is so stupid. And usually I like me some bonkers. Like, don't get me wrong, I am a fan of just balls to the wall bonkers, but like, there's bonkers, and then there's whatever this is. Also, she's just gonna have to go off into this arena, and this is totally just the scene from Star Wars.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
So two guys come in to drag Amaris out into the arena, and Amaris is no longer gagged. She could just turn to these guys and be like, stop, and then let me out, or go feed yourselves to whatever monster comes out. Like, she has so many options. Knox throws out an I love you as Amaris is dragged away, and it feels so sad, quite frankly. It's so sad and unearned, because Knox doesn't know that this girl didn't look for her, didn't think about her, barely had any emotion towards her, and quite frankly, they had no chemistry when they were together as younger people, so. Her tears lubricated the iron of the bars. She gonna like wriggle the door loose because the bars are lubricated with sapphic tears?
You said wet shirt don't break, not piss shirt bend bar.
You know that if she could, Knox would like trade their places so that Knox could go get eaten by the monster and let her beautiful white friend go off and la 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 la, continue living my perfect life. Knox who? So she doesn't think to try to use her powers on these two men who dragged her into the Colosseum, and then they like punch her in the stomach and leave. So she's just gonna have to, there's nothing for it. The author has decided that her main character has to fight something in a Colosseum battle, and that's all there is to it. Although watch, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen. I do not know. I have not gotten a spoiler as to what she has to fight in this arena, but it will be hilarious. if it is one of the Flappy Boys, the one who like came into her room and was like, yeah, I'm totally here to help you. Like if they had captured him and then put her in the arena against him, oh my gosh, that would be so hilarious. I have no idea if that's what's gonna happen. Now, you guys know that I am a pantser and proud of it. However, I will be the first to tell you that I don't recommend it for everyone, and I don't recommend it for Piper. I legitimately think that she needs to plot her books. We know that this one was basically pants. She admitted it. She just kind of wrote it all in a fever dream of like 2 weeks or something like that. And the book is worse for it. Meandering around to the weirdest plot points that you can possibly think of. But hey, we got through this longish chapter in one memory card, so good for us, and we're getting close to the end. Are you hyped? I'm hyped to finally be done with this book. If you asked me to recap this book, I could not, because like there is no plot. It just does whatever. It's like a video game where all you're doing is the side quests. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Hello and welcome back. We are going to read some more chapters. There's a couple of like shorter chapters, so I might get them both in one sitting. We'll find out, shall we? Both the cats are like doing crazy cat things today. So if you hear a lot of noises and banging and things falling, it's both of them just up to some shit. Okay. I'm already confused by the world building, but like world building who this author does not care. Why does this place have a coliseum? And why was she surprised to find it out? Like, it seems like this coliseum was a secret, but at the same time, like, it's a coliseum. That's where lots of people go to watch sporting events, violent sporting events. So why wouldn't everybody know about, the famous Colosseum of the capital? Why is it both like a surprise and also an enormous Colosseum that's just like hidden in this kingdom? Hey. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it says like the entire city turned up for this. So why doesn't Amaris like know that this exists? You'd think, I mean, okay, I know she doesn't like research or planning, but you'd think that this wouldn't be a total shock to these people. Nigel turned on the printer. Just cats doing whatever they want. Anyway, I am already having Savior's Champion flashbacks, and I don't like it. I forget which TV series like the Savior's Champion is heavily based on, but I haven't seen it. It's like Blood and Sand or some bullshit, but like I feel like I have to watch it now since everybody insists on putting it in their books. They keep saying that she's wearing black tights, and I'm like, I think you mean leggings, because tights, even black tights, can be a little bit see-through, and I'm just picturing her out there wearing this little ballerina outfit. She's like, oh, the Flappy Boys can't save me because they would have to like fly in broad daylight, but didn't What's-His-Nuts do that already? So like, I don't think they care. Amaris is confused still by this Colosseum because she's like, she was expecting a gallows or something, but there's nothing. What could this Colosseum be here for? She thinks that the queen is just gonna like leave her out here in this giant sandy arena to just like slowly die of dehydration, and I'm like, wow. It's okay if your character puts things together as the reader does. That's something I try to do in my books, is to not have characters be dumb for the sake of the plot. If they would figure it out, let them figure it out, and you have to be a skilled enough writer to deal with the fact that your characters are gonna figure things out, because hopefully they're not idiots. Also, nobody has gagged her again, to my knowledge. She is still free to yell whatever orders she wants to at the crowd. Now, maybe they might not hear her at first, but if she just keeps yelling, they might realize, hey, she's trying to say something, and they might shut up to listen. And pretty soon she could order half the crowd to fight the other half, making a perfect distraction for her escape. But she's not going to think of anything like that. Why would she actually use her powers in a useful way instead of just to hurt her friends and family? Once again, this author is threatened with big emotions for her characters and decides, nah, and just has Amaris be like, Knox is here, so I feel this sense of calm, and I'm not afraid. Like, I'm not worried, I'm not concerned, because Knox told me to buy time, so that's what I'm gonna do. And it's like, why are you so allergic to your characters ever, like, really having emotions of any kind? We're just here to describe architecture. We are not here for characters to have feelings. Yeah, now we're just going to describe the queen for a while, so rather than Amaris feeling any kind of fear or panic or even stopping to plan something maybe, it's way more important that we know in detail what the queen is wearing today. I'm not sure what word she was going for, but Amaris felt her stomach church in disgust. Is it supposed to be clench? I feel like maybe clench. Crunch? I don't know, but probably not church. Can we just get a monster to frickin' start killing Amaris already? It's not a Julian read-along unless I'm begging for the murder of the main character at some point. So the queen is making this speech about how, like, Reavers used to be our friends, but now this one was sent to assassinate me or do bad things, who cares? And Amaris is like, they mean to make an example of me. And it begs the question once again, why is she only doing this to Amaris? Why is she not doing this to all of the Reavers? It's so Amaris has to do this by herself, or at least by herself until her heroic flying boyfriends show up. Oh, you know, when you have so many words, it's no wonder that you repeat yourself so much. Like, this is why we don't go quite so overboard with our descriptions. The sun scorched Amaris, burning her white shoulders. Her hair felt hot from the light of the sun. Oh my gosh, I called it. I swear I did not know this. I did not know this spoiler, but they open the gate, you know, across from her where the monster's supposed to come out, and it's Gadriel. It's Gadriel. Called it. Like, son of a bitch. I thought, like, one of two things, like, either A, it was going to be him, or B, it was going to be some other big monster and then he was going to have to fly in and help her. Alright, the next chapter is also really short, so I'm going to turn the camera off and then on again and read that one as well. Welcome back for infuriating chapter number 29. Ooh, only 2 more chapters. Perhaps the next time you see me, I will be wearing my costume to do our finale. Will that be exciting? I'm so ready to be done reading this book. Like, what was this book about? It was just like watching someone else play a video game, quite frankly. Just characters going around, doing a quest or two, talking to NPCs, maybe finding out some vague things like you might be the lost princess, a little bit of a romance scene, yeah. And I am a person who writes books that kind of have the vibe of video games. Adventurer Mage, a book that I plan to publish, has a little bit of a video game vibe. You do watch the characters go through some, like, essentially dungeons. There's some dungeon crawling. But, like, there's a point that they're going towards and it makes sense. They don't just go into them because it seems like it would be cool, which is pretty much all this book feels like it's doing. The author's like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if my characters did that? And then she just does it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense for the plot. It doesn't matter if it makes sense for the characters. It just seems like a cool idea, so she just throws it in the book. Alright, that's enough bitching for me. On to chapter 29. Suddenly, Amaris is calling him the nickname Gad. She has never once called him Gad, and now she's like, Gad! Of course, he was, like, immediately captured, because him coming here was the dumbest thing he possibly could have done, and they, like, mutilated his wings, so he's all, like, sad, injured boy. So, of course, she runs over to him, and he's like, you have to kill me, because my second guess was correct. The queen is trying to prove that they are allies. But, like, what a stupid plan. Ooh, wait. Does this mean we get to mark off bad guys have stupid plans? Did we already mark it? No, we didn't. We're so close to filling this up. Where's my pen? Okay, I don't have a pen on me, but we are marking baddies have terrible plans because this is a stupid plan on the part of the queen. Yay! We're so close! If she suddenly proves good at a high skill activity or has sudden last minute powers or she don't know she's beautiful, we will fill up this bingo board, y'all. I mean, with a book this chunky, kind of bound to happen. Although Gabrielle stupidly thinks that if she kills him, they will spare her. And that's, like, why would you think that? I mean, even if she did kill him, wouldn't it look suspicious that the demon just walked out, knelt in front of her, she slashed his head off, and that was it? Like, wouldn't that seem suspicious to people? I don't think that plan was gonna work. But of course Amaris is like, no, you're too hot and brooding, I can't let you die. He calls her a witchling even in death, and I have no idea what that means. There are more monsters that they're going to send out, but again, if the people think that Amaris is allied with demons, wouldn't they also maybe think that she's allied with monsters and the monster wouldn't attack her? But whatever. Why am I trying to make sense out of this? The author just wanted a cool action fight scene. I feel like Piper CJ heard that fantasy books have action climaxes, and so she was like, ooh, I better get me one of those. So from the description of the animal that comes out, it sounds like basically a dragon. It's like described as a 4-legged worm with wings so big they nearly fill the Colosseum. Weird, but like dragon essentially. But hey, Witcher fandom, what is this? Please point me towards what this creature is in the comments. And the chapter ends basically with the big dragon coming out because Piper CJ in the literal last 3 chapters has realized that A, you can write shorter chapters, that's allowed, and B, that ending a chapter on a cliffhanger is often a good way to get your reader to want to keep reading. It doesn't work on me because it's way too late. But yes, we will be returning probably in costume for the final exciting, heavy quotations, 2 chapters of this book. I have no idea where it's going at this point, but then again, did we ever have any idea where this book was going? No, not really. This read-along is going to have to get a lot more like views and likes before I will read the second book in this series. If you really want me to do that, you gotta blow these motherfuckers up because like, this isn't doing any better or worse than any of my other read-alongs, so yeah. I will see you for the next chapters. Bye.
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
KJ, LaFone, Unicorn Jenny, Celia, Neon, Taya, Alyssa, Deborah, My96, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah.
Sure, no problem.
We have another special shout out today. When you become a patron, you can get a special shout out. And this time we are shouting out new patron KJ, who is also an author. And I will link you a way to check them out down below in the doobly-doo. So go and check out their work. Sounds like they've got some cool stuff. Go see what's what. And thanks KJ for being a patron.
Stop! He's already dead.